Guys, he cold emailed 1,000 people at Comcast and said, buy my drone mapping technology. We can inspect your telephone lines faster than anyone else. He got that contract on day one back in 2015. Today, he serves a lot of government agencies. This is Air Force, military, etc. Doing about 3 million bucks in revenue today, but highly concentrated, looking to expand that to 9 million this year, growing. He's got 25 on the team, did a 6 million Series A back in 2019, in addition to a couple million bucks in convertible notes that transitioned over. But again, scaling nicely here. Team of 25, high revenue per employee. We'll see if he can triple this year. Hey, folks, my guest today is Joel Sullivan. He's the founder and CEO of Mapware. He is previously at Offerboard, which exited, and has 3 little startups now at home. He's homesteading, a big flannel aficionado, and a sick beard game. Joe, you ready to take us to the top?
Let's do it, man.
All right. So what is drones are interesting right now. You're seeing what's happening in Ukraine. I don't know if there's a defense approach to anything you're building, but walk us through what Mapware does.
Yeah, sure. So Mapware is a software company. What we do is we take photos and using a process called photogrammetry, we transform them into rich 3D maps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done is we've built that user workflow in parallel with a drone flight automation workflow to be able to rapidly capture data off of a commercial off-the-shelf drone and to be able to use that geospatial intelligence workflow rapidly in any context.
Mm-hmm.
It does have military applications, and actually our largest customers tend to be the U.S. Air Force and Army Corps of Engineers. Those type of government customers are where we focus. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you working with Palantir at all?
We are not. No.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I watched a big interview that they did on how they're helping the Ukrainians, and a lot of it has to do with these drone operators, Ukrainian drone operators in the middle of forest. They go up, they do reconnaissance, they plot images, they triangulate, then they push a button, they launch the missile, and boom, the Russians go. And they seem to say that a lot of what's enabling the Ukrainians to stay on top of things is this drone map, this real time sort of drone mapping sort of software, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not
Yeah,
selling to
it's
them.
cool. I mean, well, so we're open. Anyone can just go and buy. And so I don't know. I see some
Could
traffic from
be.
Europe, but we're also not. Yeah, who knows?
All right. Walk through the business model. What are customers paying on average per month or per year to use the technology?
Yeah, sure. So it's a subscription model. So it's 199 a month for our software, and then that's an annually recurring license that people can grab onto. Um, it's been it's been a bumpy road, to be honest. And what's kind of unique about us is, again, we're finding that most of our traction is within the government space. And so we wound up saying, okay, what's the most that you can kind of put on a government credit card, and then let's kind of price a package that matches that. And now we have, kind of government personnel that will go and swipe and transact that way. So it took a lot of user discovery to be able to realize this is where the product market fit is, and therefore we have to price and package accordingly in order to reach that market.
Well, but Joe, so you avoided what's the average customer paying? Is it $200 per month, or is it that per month per drone per head?
No, it's per month per user. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
it's about
one user could have 10 drones and upload gigabytes and gigabytes of new pictures, but it's still just
yep.
it's price per seat.
Yeah, exactly. So it
And
actually winds up being a pretty good deal for them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so are you typically signing up one person at one agency, or are these, whether it's government or anyone else buying agricultural companies, are they buying, 30 seats at once? What's the average customer paying in terms of number of seats?
So it's a land and expand strategy, and what we've seen within the U.S. Drone marketplace is that it's mostly single owner operators. So it's
Okay.
typically one guy buying one license.
Okay.
Um, we're seeing that, within the government agencies, we're getting like 1,000 user orders or like several hundred users at a time, which has been great. But the commercial market, I feel like is still feeling it around, still getting their hands on it.
Oh, what's going on there, YouTube? Good to see you guys. Now imagine this. You love watching these interviews with SaaS founders, but imagine if we took all of the valuation data out from over 2,807 interviews I've done manually. Saves you a lot of time. Well, we've done this. We've built it into the beautiful interface inside of FounderPath. Check this out. I'll show you how you can access this in a second, but you log in, you connect your Stripe account, you see your valuation real time, you can see what it changed over the past 88 days, and even set goals for valuation this year. Now, the secret to valuation is there's many different ways to value a SaaS business. So the reason you're going to see 3 or 4 different valuations inside of your FounderPath dashboard, this is all free by the way, is because depending on who's doing the buying of your SaaS company, you're going to get a different valuation. A VC is going to pay a different valuation. Private equity firm is different. If you're going to do a minority sale, that's different. And if you sell the whole business, that's a different valuation. You can see all those when I hover over here. Right, so the teal is what a VC would pay, yellow is what private equity, and red is if you sold the whole thing outright. Now, what's cool about this is not built off random data. Again, you guys hear these interviews on YouTube. All these data are built from real-time valuation data points founders share with us on the show. So traction, 1.2 million, seed round, 3.7 raise, they sold 22% of their business. Go in here and filter by the event. Maybe you only want to see companies that have sold the whole business. Well, here are a bunch that have been acquired, the valuation and the multiple. Maybe you're going out right now and you're raising your seed round. Well, go in here and look at all this recent seed deals that went down, what they raised, what valuation they raised at, and what percent that they sold. There's never been a larger data set of SaaS valuations than what you can get now inside of FounderPath, and we're thrilled to bring it to you. All right, we're going to go back to the YouTube video here in a second, but if you want to check this tool out, if you want to jump in and sign up, you can check it out for free to get your valuation at this link, founderpath.com/products/valuations. Or if you go to founderpath.com and hover over products, click on get your valuation here and go ahead and sign up to give it a whirl. Again, all that valuation data live right inside the platform. I hope to see you there. All right, let's jump back into the interview. I mean, if you've got one group coming and buying 1,000 seats at $200 a pop, I mean, that's a $200,000 a month contract. Am I doing that math right?
Yes.
I mean, don't obviously name the customer, but do you have people paying 200 grand a month, like one entity? That's a yes.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah.
If you're driving and you can't read Joe's body language, that's a yes.
So it's a little bit tricky, right? Because I can sort of talk about some of my contracts, and I can go into some details on like the use cases that we've been doing in environmental monitoring. So that maybe is a little bit easier to kind of get our arms around.
I mean, look, let's just ignore the government for a second. Let's say there was an environmental company, right, that had 1,000 seats, right, at $200 a seat per month. I mean, that's $2.4 million of ARR. I don't know how big you are, but that feels like a ton of customer concentration risk. How do you manage that?
Yeah, it's an issue. It's a real problem. And the way we do that is by being very hands-on and focused in a direct outbound kind of sales process, right? So I'm meeting with the customers, and we have this very high-touch sales process for that customer segment.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we have this like super low-touch automated SaaS thing. So it's been a weird growth trajectory to try to do both of those.
Yep.
And what we're finding is like sometimes we'll actually get that traction from the inbound and then go, wait a minute, I need to do this as like more of an outbound, higher touch sales process.
Put this on a timeline for us. When did you launch the business? What year?
2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you like a hobbyist in the space, or how does this tie to your story?
So we've been in, we went through some pretty serious pivots. I've always been interested in, I've kind of like had that startup itch. And so in college, I actually like started this notebook that I aspirationally titled 100 Startups. And I would just like write down my ideas as I was going, right? And I'm now at like 750 ideas, right? And I'm sure you probably get this a lot. Like guys just like, hey, I got ideas. I just write down ideas.
Apple Notes, things like that. Yep.
Yeah. And so this one really took hold for me because I could see, okay, well, the market for robotics and drones in particular is going up. It's clearly like there's tremendous demand for automation. And you could actually structure, I kept saying, okay, how can I structure an annually recurring contract that takes advantage of robotic automation? And we pivoted through a bunch of different answers to that question. It originally started as, okay, maybe I can do subscription crop dusting. And we looked at all the different ways that that could work, then realized, wait a minute, trying to bang my head against two regulatory agencies would be a total nightmare. And within the first year of our business, we had kind of said, okay, we'll structure this more as like a solution, get our arms around it, and we started with kind of a fully integrated disaster response package. So right out of the gates.
Well, Joe, here we got to go faster because we only have 5 minutes left here. So you disaster recovery,
Okay.
2015, and then you eventually pivot into space. Now, just I guess maybe walk me through who your first customer was. How'd you get your first customer?
Yeah. So our first major customer was Comcast, and we got that customer by emailing 1,000 employees at Comcast, and then finally getting in touch. Oh God, I don't even remember. It was something like, drones are awesome and we could save you guys a ton of money.
On what? Why would Comcast need drones?
So I had worked the numbers on what it takes for them to do an inspection of telephone lines and realized that drones could do it at like a tenth of the cost. And we figured that out, and we actually ran a prototype and we did it, and it was awesome.
That's smart. Them a ton of cash money. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Okay, so that's Comcast. And fast forward to today, how many customers are you working with?
So the bulk of our customers are concentrated in the U.S. government. Like we basically this year made a decision to almost ignore the commercial market in order to satisfy the government market.
Oh, so you have like 3 or 4. It's like Comcast, the U.S. Air Force, and one other one.
Yeah. It's like U.S. Air Force and U.S. Army and maybe U.S. Navy this year, and that's good.
Interesting. Yeah. So you've totally turned off sort of a hobbyist market where they one person from their home paying you $200 a month for one seat. You've sort of you're not going that
it's
route
on
anymore.
Yeah, that part of the business is kind of on autopilot. And we're just saying, hey, look, if you self-sign up, that's cool. But
how many there, though? I'm curious. I mean, it's a small part of your business, but how many are like single operators paying $200 a month?
I'd have to check the stats. I'd say we're probably about off the cuff, 5,000 users.
How many of those are paying?
We have a lot of free, small, 30, 40, something like that.
Okay, so you found a niche. You're a little scared that you're so concentrated, but it also seems to be printing money for you. So you're sort of okay with it. How many folks are full-time on your team today?
We're at 25.
25. Okay, and have you done all this bootstrapped, or did you decide to raise money?
We raised a pretty significant amount of cash. So we've done about 10 million in equity and another 12 as like a line of credit.
Okay, when did you do the equity deal?
2019.
Okay. And was it all 10 million Series A in 2019, or was it split up?
It was also like some convertible notes that flipped and things like that.
Okay. But just the equity portion of the round that you did in 2019 was how much?
It was 10 million. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so when the notes converted,
maybe I'm not understanding.
If you had raised Joe, the way convertible notes work, if you raise previous convertible notes and they're converting into a round, some people might include that conversion in the 10 million. Others would say the extra 4 million in convertible notes go on top of the 10 million. So I'm asking, was the 10 million inclusive of historical convertible notes or not?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so that's why I was asking, how much was new equity raised, not convertible notes, of the 10 million in 2019? That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, sure. Got it. 6 million, I want to say.
Okay. And looking back
really
now,
testing my memory here.
We're going in. I mean, come on, that's not something you forget. I mean, that's a lot of dilution. I assume you care about equity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, do you care about do you care about keeping equity? Obviously, I assume there was a negotiation there on the 6 million to make sure you had as little dilution as possible, right?
Yep. Yep. Fair enough.
Looking back now, would you change anything? Was that the right move for where you were at the time?
Um, I I think yes, I would change some things. I'd probably want to have a more comprehensive plan. And I think, if I'm being honest, we went kind of piecemeal convertible note, but kind of just one step in front of the next. Um, and if I could do it all over again, I probably would have said, here's a comprehensive plan on how we would spend 10 million, not
Mm-hmm.
here's something that gets me to next quarter. So,
Yeah. Yep.
so
Yep.
yes, there are lots of things I would have done differently.
Yep. Well, guys, a big lesson you can take from Joe is how we got Comcast on day one. That's a big enterprise account. Look, Joe, I'm sort of guessing. Do they only need, they don't, I assume they don't need one seat, right? They probably buy one seat for every geography or something.
Well, yeah, and our pricing model was totally different there. We were doing by square mile at the time. And so we basically said, hey, we'll map an entire city for you for like $250,000.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then they just said, we want to buy all of these geos, and then boom, you have the price.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. Interesting. Well, talk to me about growth. Where do you want to get by the end of 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on track to triple in size, which is
That's in terms of
pretty
revenue or
solid
headcount or what?
revenue. Yep. So
Okay.
we're trying to keep headcount still really, really lean.
Yep.
But we're talking about putting a target up there of 9 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yep.
I'm doing math. 25 employees now at an average revenue per employee of 140,000 puts you at about a 3 million run rate today. You think you can break a 9 million run rate by the end of the year?
That's based on our current deal pipeline. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, look, land and expand is a powerful strategy, especially when it's the U.S. government and they can sort of print money. That's a nice customer to have. Joe,
Yeah,
if you're
it
if you're
is.
at a,
Yeah.
if you're at a 3 million run rate today, where were you exactly a year ago so we can calculate your historical run rate?
Oh, man. Yep. 1.5. You're making me
Okay,
spill
that's
all the
healthy.
beans here, Nathan.
I know, man. That's the name of the game, brother. That's still healthy growth. You didn't raise any new equity the last 12 months, so that's all just expanding into current accounts.
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting. How do you manage your equity investors from 2019? I assume you have board meetings and they say, Joe, how do you grow faster? You only doubled this year. You should be doubling like way faster. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate to have pretty chill investors that are like, "Hey, look, we trust you, and we understand the plan." But that also comes with needing regular communications, right? So we put
Mhm.
forth, an annual budget. We do a weekly status update. We're doing quarterly check-ins on our fork and reforecasting, and so all that kind of helps to keep that level of trust high.
Yeah. What, I mean, who buys you? Does the US government buy you? How do you make money off it? I mean, do you IPO one day? How do you make money off of this?
Yeah, what's the exit strategy?
Well, I hate asking
It's
that because if
tough,
you love
man.
what you're doing, you
I
don't want to
know.
exit, right? But like, how do you how do you make money off
How
this
do you
personally as a
exit?
founder?
I don't know, man. It's a great question. I think there's a very small number of investors who would potentially buy this at the PE. So, okay, within the government space, there's maybe like 70 investors, okay, that are willing to take on this type of company. So it's a pretty small pool all around. And I think actually, A16Z has been doing a lot around American dynamism that's really interesting and worth watching. Um, but there's only a very small number of players here. So you're either gonna jump the chasm into system integration and say, okay, the Lockheeds of the world or the Boeings need our product and they're going to bolt us in, or some drone manufacturer wants this as an kind of value add-on. Um, or PE or IPO, but it's kind of a weird niche.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, aren't there a ton of companies that sell to governments that could see this as a way to increase ARPU across their accounts, start upselling drone mapping software? I mean, Palantir is a buyer. I mean, I gotta imagine there's hundreds probably that sell to DoD, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so part of our
Yeah.
strategy for the coming years is like bolting our mapping software into drone systems and kind of doing a bundled sales strategy.
Yeah. If I was a hedge
Yeah.
fund, can I pay you to go put a drone above the McDonald's on the corner and tell me how many cars go in and out every month to try and predict McDonald's next earnings call?
Maybe. That's a tough use case. I think you'd be better off using satellite data.
Interesting. Do you have any hedge fund clients today?
No.
Interesting. Have you pursued it or no? You don't want that market?
Nah, so hedge funds are tricky, right? Because if you actually develop a truly unique signal, they're going to be super greedy and gobble that up, right? So your market is basically one hedge fund. And then if you sell to all the hedge funds, then there's no strategic advantage to the hedge funds.
Yeah, no
So your
alpha.
value goes way down. Yeah, right. So it's like, how do you price a product with one customer? It's worse than selling to the government.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. At least you have four branches you can sell into at least, right?
That's
Very
right.
cool, Joe. This is a hell of a story. Congrats. Let's wrap up here with the famous five. Number one, your favorite book.
Oh man, off the cuff, high output management.
Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
Um, well, I do love Andy Grove quite a bit, so I'll put Andy Grove for that one. Yeah.
And number three, what's your favorite online tool for building mapware?
Um, lately, ChatGPT.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I am a steady 8-hour kind of guy.
That's good. And what's your situation? Married, single, kids?
Married, 3 kids.
Busy guy. How old are you?
So I am 36.
36. Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20.
Majors don't matter.
What doesn't?
Majors?
Like the school major.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's very fair. Guys, he cold emailed 1,000 people at Comcast and said, buy my drone mapping technology. We can inspect your telephone lines faster than anyone else. He got that contract on day one back in 2015. Today, he serves a lot of government agencies. This is Air Force, military, etc. Doing about $3 million in revenue today, but highly concentrated, looking to expand that to 9 million this year, growing. He's got 25 on the team, did a 6 million Series A back in 2019, in addition to a couple $1 million in convertible notes that transitioned over. But again, scaling nicely here, team of 25, high revenue per employee. We'll see if he can triple this year. Joe, thanks for taking us to the top.
Yeah, pleasure talking to you, Nathan. Take care.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers. They try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company, or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them, and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.